Meetings Act posted on the back wall, along with meeting code of conduct. Roll call for taking will be pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just before we get started, I wanted to say thanks to everybody that was involved in pumpkins in the park. It went very well. There are a lot of good comments, so thank you guys for anything. We'll just start there. Where was going? Thanks everybody for helping with that. The pavilion's up. We can talk about that. We used to. We'll move on to consent agenda. Any questions? Otherwise, look for a motion second.
Make a motion to approve and consent agenda.
Second.
A motion to approve the consent agenda was made by Sheminti and seconded by Lawton. Lawton,
Yes.
Sheminti.
Yeah.
Mock,
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
All right, we will move on to open the session. Justin Martin,
No, I haven't. This time.
what's that?
I'm waiting for the public hearing on the 816.
Lindsay?
Yeah, I'm not gonna stand on the word on it. Hey, what do we have to do to put the sales tax back on the ballot and come up in the primary in the November election? I think the last time it was, we lost by 12 votes. And with the growth in the city that's gonna happen, especially in the homes being built, that's a lot of dollars that we can get some sales tax revenue off. I think it's important we get that on the ballot. Anyway, what do we gotta do?
If I'm not mistaken, it's somebody outside the council that has to lead it.
That is incorrect.
That's incorrect?
Up to a certain amount, and I don't want to say the amount. I think it's 1%, but it might not be that much. The council can do.
We can do it.
We'll go.
It might be a 0.5%. Don't quote me on percentage, but
We can go up to 2%, right?
Mhm.
Where did we go the last time? Do you remember? I thought it was 1%. What?
0.5% last time,
1%?
right? Thank you. That was your 0.5%.
I think that's something we need to do. And the other thing, I guess there's a person that moved into town recently, maybe a year ago. And just to say it needs to be cleaned up in their yard. And the neighbor that I went and visited, she just got out of the hospital. It hasn't changed in a year. What is the process if we notice something that is? Don't want to clean lake, you know, you can keep it further away. Is there a complaint form? How do we go about that?
There's a written complaint form, and then we'll turn it over to Bob. Bob will look into it.
Okay.
And between Bob, Robert, and the chief of police, they'll investigate it.
Because I've had people ask me, what is the process? And I really didn't know. I could have asked, I guess, but, and they want to complain, but they gotta live next to them and they don't want to be recognized as a Karen. We all know what that means, but is it done unanimously or will the person ever find out that who complained?
we don't have. I don't usually tell them who complain.
Okay.
I mean, but somebody got to put a name on it.
I understand,
right?
absolutely.
You know, it's,
And if there's a situation like that, do you want pictures or what, does that make a difference or you?
I mean, any kind of information you got, is the best, right?
Yeah, pretty good. I guess that's all I have. I'll leave that. Sales tax charge, do if nobody else wants to.
We'll get in touch with you.
Okay,
All right, moving on, ordinance 815. Is the setting of the salaries. Bob, give a report on that and then evaluations for the year. Unless you guys got questions. First. That's pretty self-explanatory, but.
I'm trying to get down there to it. Yeah, on the raises for this year, not for hourly rates was 2.7% was given as a cost of living raise, and then the remainder of the 5% that we had budgeted was done, and a graduated, for what your evaluation point score was between 1 and 5. All the council and the mayor have, received that, and, I didn't hear any negative feedback from that, so everybody's evaluation was given to all of you. I'm hoping you guys all looked at it. So that's basically it. And then what's in the resolution reflects the raises from the evaluations of the cost of living.
All right, we'll open public hearing at 7:06 for ordinance 815. All right, 7:07. Close the public hearing. Looking for a motion to approve or deny the first reading or waive the three readings and approve. Ordinance 815.
I'll make a motion to approve the reading of ordinance 815 and to waive next 3, 2, 3.
Second.
A motion to approve ordinance 815, setting of the employee salaries for the 2025-2026 fiscal year and to waive the three readings was made by Lawton and seconded by Sheminti. Sheminti?
Yeah.
Mock?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Lawton?
Yeah.
815, zone code revision. Robert has done a lot of work into this. Designed it for UTM. A lot of input from a lot of people. All of the planning commission. Staff report from Robert.
All right, Matt summed that up pretty well. This has been an intention since long before I even showed up for my first day. Spent the past 2 years listening, paying attention, seeing what appears to be major problems with what currently exists in our code. There's a lot to fix. But with the help from the planning commission and a bunch of different stakeholders and many of you, this is what we produced. Now, this is just a working draft. You guys know we have November and December. We also work through any other things that come up, any concerns, anything like that. So this is absolutely still a working draft. The input is necessary, both from the public, from you guys. Basically, we're still open to changes on this. That's going to be the way that this document becomes unique. Let's see, that said, in your staff report, specifically under staff discussion, that front memo page, there's a list of things to kind of guide this discussion depending on what you guys are interested in. I do want to mention that the ETG boundary is proposed to be expanded based off of what we talked about last month. All the landowners impacted by that got a letter. We did not receive any comment in regards to that. There are folks obviously who didn't comment at all. We had one group show up last week for the planning commission, didn't have a comment though. They just wanted to observe. We're not here today. So if you guys want me to reach out further, I might need to work with you to get phone numbers if you guys think that we want to do more work and reaching out to them. So that's a point of discussion that we can have. The planning commission wanted to forward on the parking schedule alternatives and the animal unit definitions to you guys. The parking schedule alternatives came about from one of our commissioners. Those alternatives are not being forwarded as a recommendation to amend this code, but they wanted to send it to you for your consideration. Parking schedule was challenging for me. I initially ripped it up and tried to do something new. And the more that I looked at the new thing and the more that I kind of went through scenarios in my head, I wasn't comfortable with that amount of newness. So I went back and physically typed in every single thing that was in our parking schedule that already existed. Through the editing process, a few tweaks were made here and there, but in general, that parking schedule reflects similarly what we currently have. The animal unit definitions is also in there. That attachment that you guys have is also included in the staff report. I think it's attachment 2. Is supposedly based somewhat off of nationally recognized standards for how much source pollution animals create. So when you're thinking about things like, okay, there's a farm near me, is my well in trouble? Both state and national organizations would look at something like this and go, based off of this, you can have 20 animals according to the calculations. I have no proof that the state of Nebraska is still actively enforcing these. It was once upon a time, about 2 decades ago, that there was something written in statute. It might be now more of an administrative policy with the state. I know that the state of Iowa and South Dakota and a lot of other different states have something similar to this. I don't know exactly what the right numbers are, but this was what came out of planning discussion conversations. And they ultimately wanted to forward this again for your consideration. And then there's the highlighted portions that are throughout the code. These are specifically things that are a point of discussion and need to be addressed. There's a long list of them, obviously. And then I do want to mention, as far as these highlighted portions, I got really great feedback from 2 of you regarding the definitions. First of all, thank you for going through those. In addition to me, I needed more than one eye, and for those of you that did that, you know that was a pain in the butt. So I really appreciate that you did the work on that. I intended to try to join those all together, those comments that I got, and maybe produce something that you guys could consider to amend these definitions, but I didn't have enough time today. So it's going to be a goal of mine to get that done in the next few weeks for next time. But if you guys want to talk about those definitions tonight, we certainly can. That said, I've drafted up the ordinance for you guys to consider. It does include very similar statements that the planning commission adopted with the recommendation as far as their findings of fact that would support adopting this code. Honestly, that's all I've got on this one, so we can work through questions before you guys open the public hearing.
Your first piece, Robert, on those who may be brought into the ETJ that weren't before, I'd be in favor of just sending a second round of letters. I mean, if we haven't done before, we can give them a call, but I think resending, a letter at minimum. That's just my opinion, if it feels different. I feel like some of the issues about the mail.
I did talk to Joe Penix, we know one more house to the west, Joe.
Okay.
One house to the east, Joe, between Joe and Storms. But did talk to Joe, and it's good. At first, we were a little nervous, we thought it was gonna change, like, we're gonna shoot out there and do stuff, but that is fine, okay. That's it. But I agree.
Well, we,
You have any other questions for Robert?
Robert, is this a copy of the letter that was sent out?
I don't know what you're looking at. What's the attachment number at the bottom?
Yeah, that,
That one, yeah.
I don't think I've got it.
You weren't in the expanded area. If you already are in the ETJ, then you wouldn't have received that letter.
Gotcha.
roughly, what is that number that would be in?
Roughly, you're saying how many new?
Yeah, new one.
Properties, gonna be
Yeah.
about. This is off the top of my head, there's about 12.
Okay, yeah.
Wasn't a lot, I was just gonna have to clear that line up. That's
Yeah.
what got
Yeah,
circled.
no, I was just curious, yeah.
Can you walk through that parking schedule, Robert?
The existing one,
The.
or I should say the
attachment-
proposed.
Yeah, the proposed, the attachment one, I believe.
Okay, so you'll specifically want to talk about, Commissioner Duffy's alternatives.
Yes.
Okay.
What we have.
Currently is in adopted or proposed. Proposed. That's gotcha. So on the actual revised code, the parking schedule would begin on page 19 under parking space requirements. So when we were going through this over the course of the past year, Commissioner Duffy spent a lot of time questioning the parking schedule. I'm gonna be honest, off-street parking isn't my expertise. So I don't have a whole lot of experience or. Yeah, experience that would allow me to give good advice on what the right numbers are here. What I created originally was adopted from, I looked at a bunch of different models. And I looked at a bunch of different existing parking schedules and then tried to kind of meld it together, but again, it didn't feel right to me. Now, my understanding about Commissioner Duffy's alternatives was that she had a lot of conversations with Gretna. And this is kind of sort of what Gretna, I'm not sure if it's proposing or already has or is trying to get to. But. You know. The thing that I don't know how the existing parking schedule really came about. I don't know what it was based off of. I think ultimately what we've proposed to you is our best attempt to try and have it make sense. Now, the alternatives. Commissioner Duffy's really focused on the amount of space being used within a structure. So she's looking at things like square feet of a used space or, that's basically it. I think we could also look at capacity, depending on how you guys felt about it. I really don't have a lot of comments about Commissioner Duffy's specific suggestions. She has spent a lot of time thinking about this stuff. It's like I said, parking schedules aren't really something I have a lot of expertise in. And if maybe we need to go back and ask some more questions of other people. And get some better feedback for one of the next readings, we can. The other thing that I didn't mention when I presented my staff report is that I consider this document without going through the 3 ordinance readings, the best possible document that we can to move forward. This doesn't mean I think it's perfect. And I anticipate in the next year or two that we will have experience in knowing a bit more and we'll find things to tweak and improve on. I'm not married to our existing parking schedule. I'm not married to what Commissioner Duffy has proposed. I'm not even married to the one I originally came up with. I really want to make sure we just do what's best. Yeah, maybe that takes a little bit of experimentation or looking around. That works. I'm sorry, Cal, this isn't really an expertise point.
No, that's fine, I mean, it gives us a discussion point, right? And some of the mappings are a little bit different, but generally you should be able to figure out what the variance is.
When you compare it. You know, curves to the one you got. It's not that far off, right? Like. You look like general retail sales. Robert has one space for 200 square feet. Duffy's is one space for 250 square. Yeah. Okay.
Multifamily, we have one space per basement bedroom. And in terms of curves is 1.5. Or should be 1.5 per bedroom unit, 2 spaces for 2 bedroom, 2.5 for 3 or more. They're not that much different.
Yeah, I remember it used to be one per bedroom, so we had 1 bedroom, 1, 2 bedroom, 2, and 3, so on and so forth. And that's new buildings, I don't think,
I don't think it's that big of a deal, but
I
maybe it's worth looking at and comparing, but I don't think Rapid is far off. That's where I feel like we're going to redraft and they're changing that.
is the downtown corridor exempt from that?
Well, you answer that. So, the existing regulations allowed for all, proposed new buildings within the community business district to be exempt from parking. The way that the zoning map has now been, redesigned, there's one big community business district. There's not more than one. So the specific proposed code exempts new businesses that are on Vine Street and Second Street from parking, so long as the parking schedule doesn't require them to have more than 15. So if they have 15 or less, they're exempt.
15 or less parking spaces.
As according to the parking schedule, yes.
Is that a new building or existing building?
This would be new.
Okay,
So if they need more than 15, then they need to build.
You got any questions? Real quick, the public hearing? You need any other answers from us right now? You want us to go through that? Now,
You don't have to, no. It's up to you guys.
or go through it during? Well, what do you need answers on right now? Attachments for network parking. Animal units. I'm not super worried about that, but. What you guys think?
Are you still focused on these right here?
Those will need to be resolved before
Okay,
the end of the third reading, absolutely. So they should be on your radar to address them. This document went through the planning commission multiple times with those things highlighted. They didn't come up with resolutions. So unfortunately, they think it's you guys to make decisions and really have input on that. And a lot of those ones are really tough questions. The abandoned conditional use timeframe is really important. We talked about the exemption of projections last month. I didn't come up with a solution to that. A lot of this stuff, it could be that I continue to look at it and get input from you guys. But for right now, if you guys don't want to discuss it right now, that's okay.
I think that's what, not gonna get tomorrow. Couple of them.
yeah, maybe not all of them, but a couple of
If
them,
we get through half of them tonight,
Yeah.
get through half of them the next year.
Home occupation, floor area, childcare requirements. That sticks out to me.
I think that's an important one to resolve.
16, 17.
So the existing code currently adopted allows for 50% of actually, let me read this verbatim so that I'm not speaking offhand here.
Home occupation shall not exceed 15% or 50% current code.
That's how it's written. So 50% of your home. 15% was a number that came out of a model I was looking at. I put it in there to create a conversation. It doesn't matter to me. It could be 100%, you guys. It could be anything, but this is just a point of conversation.
We need to consider home occupation.
Well, let's see if we can find it. It's gonna be the trick.
Mm.
This is a question though, because home occupations are really, really, really tricky.
Maybe we don't even need to go that hard, because how are we? Was it moving? How do we know if they're running off?
Exactly.
So why would we do our business?
Exactly. This is a really important question. So let me, if I may, Matt.
Yeah.
Let me first read the definition of home occupation and then let me answer what you're just going on.
Don't worry, that's actually gonna be looking.
Is that
Okay, you know.
46?
46, we're good.
So page 46, home occupation is an in-home or home-based entrepreneurial business operating from a residential dwelling. Now, let me give you some concept of practicality and what a zoning administrator is reasonably able to do. If you have an Etsy account and you're selling something out of your home, maybe you're putting together decorative birdhouses, or you're selling gnomes, or you're reselling something you found on eBay. I really don't think that's a home occupation, and more importantly, I'm not looking inside the windows to find out. Now, it starts to become a little bit different when maybe you're trying to run a very small operation mechanic shop in your detached garage. That has more impacts. That's probably something we should consider a home occupation. But it's a tricky question because a lot of cities do consider the people doing retail sale from eBay or Etsy or pick your app a home occupation. I would not do that.
I don't think that's something we should. I mean, that's just fine. I don't want to worry.
It has an LLC.
Yeah.
I mean, cause like both, like, bake sourdough and sell it, like, it's not, they're making loads of money. I mean, if you had an LLC where you're getting taxed.
Then you put a percentage on there?
Wood shop. Next up.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
I think like what Robert's talking about is, like if you're running like a mail order business or something that where you aren't having customers come and go, or there's not physical things on your property like the lawnmowers and such. Yeah, I don't think you deal with that, but I do think you want it. I mean, you would want someone saying I repair lawnmowers, and next thing you know, he's got 500 lawnmowers outside, if you're his neighbor. Things like that.
Not to mention any noise or light pollution, can't make that,
We're on the right track thinking about that. The whole point of this entire document is trying to mitigate impacts as much as possible. So when you're getting business traffic in and out, that's gonna start to be a home occupation. When you're making noise because you're working on a car, that's gonna start to be a home occupation.
My question, like, you do it for just the residents, or you do it for the whole? It says primary structure right now. 15% of the primary structures for area. So. That detached garage.
Exactly.
Or.
Exactly. We can and maybe even should include that. That's a debate going on in a lot of communities about whether or not you can do that in a detached structure. It makes sense to me that you can, but this is your guys' document. This is one of the reasons we're talking about this.
I could give you a prime example of a really bad situation. Where the doghouse is in Waterloo, catty corner across the street, there's a guy that works on stuff. And that is like the entrance to Waterloo, and that place looks bad. And I don't think we would want that here or some,
To the northeast, right?
yeah.
Chris, I know nothing about. I think about that too. That's my first time.
It was easy.
That was the, that's cool there too. But how do you split it off to say? Is it crazy to open a public hearing?
We can put like
I
the
did
other one.
now or right later.
Well, open the public hearing at 7:30. The ordinance 8:16. Guys, you got any feedback? Any of you guys have feedback?
Yeah, if anybody remembers what happened in Wahoo when they went over that supermarket that was redeveloped and they've now demolished it. That went on for 2 years in negotiations on parking. Remember that? Where it became a combination building, residential and single story, offices and things on the first floor. And then went back and forth. It was, the developer had to put forward a couple blueprints and they finally ended up coming up to where they have a meeting now. I think we set a standard. And anybody's gonna build a new building in town, we're gonna know about it. If we get a permit, then we either approve it or we don't. But we can't go backwards in this town. We don't have any place to start. We all know that. So we really can't. You know,
I think the parking going forward, I think that was good.
I would agree, and we talked about that when I was on the planning committee, we went through the ordinances and looked at. Somebody had to go open Jarrett's today or that they wouldn't qualify, nobody would. There's not in parking anymore, the church couldn't open, playing hardball. But I think that's why the exemption, new buildings are a different story, they're gonna tear half the town down, they're gonna build a building. And secondly, on the structure of home businesses. I think it should exclude anything that's going on in the residential areas. Care less if it's in the commercial area, it's not a home business. Right? Unless they're working in an apartment, then it's a different situation, that's what the landlord is. But if it's anywhere in the residential area, the guy's got a mechanic shop in his back garage. I don't think many people want a mechanic shop in their backyard, would we?
You take this for example, they got, guys name was up on, the lawnmower guy.
Bill Pollock.
The bump. So you're eliminating him.
Well, you know what? Does he have, but he's got two structures. I don't really have a problem with that, 'cause he's not going large. Now, I know there's a guy.
I know, but what you just said was, you know, somebody's got a detached structure, you don't want somebody working back there.
No, I wanted that to be included in the square footage figure calculated. Any home business, we have to scrutinize them whether we want it in that residential area or not. Whether it's could be a battery rebuilding company, we want batteries in our residential industry, or a mechanic. I moved in town recently and he wants to do sideline oil changes, thing. I don't know, we want that in the residential area, do we?
Can you reword it? Of the
It's-
primary structures for area.
Line to draw. Very hard line to draw.
He's borderline commercial, this guy is, right? Industrial,
Yeah.
what's the meeting shop on Oak Street?
No.
I mean, like you looked right up to it.
This one just down the way?
No, Oak Street, just across.
Oh,
the entrance.
that's,
So that's a weird situation.
it is, and I know he wants to make that a home occupation, but I'm not sure under current regs that he qualifies. He also hasn't come to me and told me what he's doing yet.
Well, he's,
What we don't know is,
No,
alright. Tim, got input?
You know, to what extent and what problems have you had and do you currently have? What this has to address is what you're gonna have to look at. What problems do you currently have? You know, do you have somebody that is got 3 cars that are being worked on sitting in the front yard? You know, and making noise, you know, after hours? But they're definitely gotta address something along that lines. Future businesses, you know, like I said, if you got an LLC, you're in business. So now if you're doing mechanic work and you have a small business license, well, then you're a small business. So that pretty well dictates the fact that you can't do it residential. And then you gotta look at from the other standpoint, from just fire response or hazards. You know, do you have a bunch of batteries, do you have a bunch of, you know, flammable materials, you know. Then you got the next step, okay, this guy here is a hobby, he's rebuilding an old car, right? So he's doing the same metal work as a body shop guy who's working on a car. or change an oil in his own. So how do you go about that? You have one guy bitch about this, saying, well, he's doing it, well, he's just doing it on his own. Well, I'm doing the same thing next door and you won't let me do
You're generating revenue for
it.
that.
Exactly, so you're a
That's
business.
the difference.
The line in the sand I'm hearing is if you have a business license. Right, that's kind of the first one, and then certain industries within that, you would try to regulate to some extent, right?
That way, it just goes like that.
And the other thing is, as industries. As he said earlier, you know, you as a neighbor don't want to stare at the cracks in my front. Alright, so if somebody's able to do something in their own garage, door closed, and ain't impacting the neighborhood or your neighbors, then what's the problem?
You don't hear about that kind of stuff usually, right?
Exactly.
I mean,
So
Pollock
if
is
you're
a
being a good neighbors, then what's the problem?
Pollock is a perfect example, right? They might have 10 mowers out during the day. They work during the day, everybody's cleaned up, everyone's put away at night, nothing's
Can't
outside,
tell no different.
looks like a residential house.
That would be the biggest thing. Then you got people talking about reselling, you know, houses and stuff like that, and hazards and rodents or whatever the case may be. It's all within your domain. What's wrong?
You know that, Robert?
Yeah, so I mean, is that, I do think that he's on to something, and I do agree with Wendy, what you were saying, if. There should be, it needs to be clear, you need to be an LLC if you're gonna be a business, and I think that's just how we qualify it. And if you're not,
If you are an LLC or you're a business, then
Here are the industries that,
yeah,
you know, this falls under, manufacturing, you know. I wanna throw. Auto body, you know, et cetera. Well, that's in your zone, yeah.
so if you guys want me to, we can add another condition of approval. Under the home occupation section, requiring that they submit evidence of proper incorporation with the state as business. The next reading.
that makes sense.
What
we didn't know, they don't volunteer, that we wouldn't know anyway.
But if it becomes a problem, then you.
Then you know.
Then you have something to go back to.
Then you have
If
something
they
to fall
have an
back.
LLC, that means they're operating out of their house.
Yeah.
So if you got somebody who's, you know, they'll be watching 2 kids in the daycare, and they don't need a license to do it, whatever, you know, they're doing it online. Or if somebody's trimming hair or something along that line, they're not gonna have an LLC.
So they would need licensing under the state.
If they do.
Yeah, so there's ways to.
But it's also like,
Yeah, cause it comes into public safety then also.
Exactly.
Then you got somebody flying by night trying to do, you know, tattoo shop in your neighborhood, so. You know.
Don't go away my land.
There's all kinds of-
There goes my underground business.
Yeah, I mean, like when you're a hairdresser of a house, there's codes they have to have their license, like it has to have a separate entrance, a separate. You know, plumbing line, it's, you know, they can't just do it, I mean. They
but
keep their license,
I think you're talking about the person that's doing it after hours, right, like side job,
right,
like, hey, come over, I'll cut your.
yeah.
Right. Justin, do you have anything?
A lot of the questions I had were, have already kind of been answered, but. Where it comes to like the use and the percentage and everything, I just don't see a point in making it smaller. I mean, I know you added it as kind of to open up the discussion, but. I would either leave it the same as it is, or, you know, increase my use of my own house, but. Other than that. I don't have much.
Well, have you on that one? You have something?
Sure, do you guys want me to lean one way or the other as far as the amount of floor area? And whether or not you can do it in a detached structure?
I think.
In a primary though, probably not. Right? To a full 100%.
I was gonna ask about the percentage, because that didn't get asked, so yes, what about the percentage? We covered detached, but what do you guys want to go with 50?
The primary?
Or do you want to, well, so the way that I would write this is that the home occupation shall not exceed the percentage of the primary structures or detached accessory structures floor area. Do you guys want me to create different standards for primary and
I would
detached?
say separate.
Okay,
Yeah.
so, and if it were to be detached, that would be probably what, 100%?
Yes.
Yeah,
Now, I seen here that you had something about, you could put your tiny home behind a home under certain conditions, all right? So. You have to think a few steps ahead. You talk about detached buildings, you talk about primary residence. Now, what happened if somebody got approved, put their 2-bedroom tiny home behind their house? All right, could they make that into a daycare, an attorney, another office, let's say? So,
I think it's, so it's not that out of there, what you want to do the second one, isn't it?
Well, so what he's talking about is technically a change of use. So that would be, I'm no longer using this as an accessory dwelling unit. And now I want it to be my lawyer's office. It switches to a home occupation at that point. Now, accessory dwelling units in this code proposed require conditional use review within city limits in a residential area. They don't require it in the ETJ transitional act. So it'd be a change of use. If someone was doing it appropriately, they would come to us and say, hey, this is what we're doing. And I would give them, I would probably write some sort of letter of permission based off of the standards of approval here and make them show that they're complying with the code.
okay, so. Let's say you live next to somebody and they get I want to have my kids gonna live in the backyard, so they get their approval for the tiny home. And then, 2 seconds later or 5 years later, the kid moves out, now they wanna make that an office and rent it out to some. All right, so you're saying that you could use a conditional use permit to do an activity such as that. But how does a neighbor that doesn't want a business run up next, what they signed up for when they went into residential? Just make sure that you think 3 more steps further. What could somebody do in the future? Or how could somebody get around something in the future that would cause? The council, the mayor, an issue or law enforcement, now you're dealing with neighbor civil issues back and forth because city allowed this and I never dreamed he was gonna be able to get a second house back there and now it's a business. Those types of deals.
The other thing I'd mention in response to what he's on to is that, again, accessory dwelling unit requires conditional use review to initiate. The home occupation is allowed by right as an accessory use. So maybe if you guys want to put the time and effort into making it home occupations be a conditional use, then we need to discuss that. Otherwise, it would be handled in-house.
No time taxes. So let's walk through the tiny house example, right, like. That was the current zoning. Somebody want to put a tiny house in the backyard that could, I mean, what else
You have to get approved, don't you?
So
as an accessory dwelling?
yeah.
within city limits in a residential area, if you propose an accessory dwelling unit, it would be under conditional use review.
Okay.
So it'd be a public hearing.
The neighbor's gonna show up and say, we don't want this thing.
Yeah.
Is that kind of what you're thinking?
Yeah, I'm just making sure.
Find a way to.
You don't wanna cause yourself more problem.
No.
And more office time and this, that, and the other things.
More people.
If it's going to be, if your tiny home was gonna be a home, then, you could put into the fact that this is all that it's going to ever be.
Wasn't there a number of how many people can be living on a lot anyway? Or so many people per square foot or something like that? Thought there was something that I read one point in time.
In green space.
Or a number of people or number of occupants per home or square foot.
Not under the zoning, no. No. So
Now, let me ask you this, somebody has an RV. They've got space for it, and they park it beside their house, and they plug it into electricity and run a sewage line and a water line, is that acceptable?
hang on. let's get back to the conditions of approval. Okay.
By the way, that question was non-pandemic too.
Okay, the accessory dwelling unit standards. Begin on page, they're on 17. This is item number 6 on that page. This is envisioned as a structure. It doesn't specifically prohibit the use of a camper as an accessory dwelling unit, but what I will tell you is that the code in other sections addresses campers and recreational vehicles and ties it to the municipal code timeline, which is about, you're allowed 2 weeks of temporary use, your RV or camper. So if you tie it, as this is currently written, RV camper use would still be under the municipal code limit. We can put in further protections if you guys want to, but I think it's covered.
Okay, now along with that, your auxiliary, the tiny house business. You're gonna have something in there that states that this is, a foundation built. Or something along that lines, because, there's a lot of manufacturers out there that make them things, and there's even people that drag them, because they're on wheels of the trailer. They drag them around as a camper, because they have it at the lake for 6 months, and whatever the case may be. So you're really gonna have to set the stone as to what that structure can be. Is it gonna be stick built, or can it be wheeled in, or
Okay. So an accessory dwelling unit is specifically defined as an additional subordinate dwelling unit on the same lot as a primary single-family residence / dwelling. It does allow an accessory dwelling unit to be attached or detached to the primary dwelling. Now, if you look toward the definition of dwelling, and I apologize, that definition of accessory dwelling, that's on page 40. The definition of dwelling is on page 44. That's any building or portion thereof designed and used exclusively for single-family residential purposes, including manufactured homes, but excluding mobile homes. So it needs to have a foundation in order to qualify as an accessory dwelling unit.
But, so if someone brings in one of the tiny homes with regular frame and got wheels on it, and then they pour a curb and set it on it, take the wheels off, is that?
It has to have a foundation. If they build a foundation for it and properly attach it, it would probably qualify as an accessory dwelling unit, subject to conditional use review. I'm not sure in the transitional ad, I would be that specific, but within city limits, absolutely.
It said somewhere, I think you have to have an address. So if you're moving it in and out, it would be something. Probably.
So if I may, you guys, unless any of you guys want to respond to anything we just said. Let's go back real quick to this question of what happens if an accessory dwelling unit turns into a home occupation. Again, the accessory dwelling unit goes through conditional use review. So we can have a condition in there if something gets reviewed and approved that a change of use, and in fact, this is traditional in any conditional use approval. Any change of use of this structure requires further review and approval. That's it.
Agreed.
That's it. As that was
We can sit here all night and say, what if this, what if that, and as opposed to, nope, if this changes, back to review then.
every
Yeah.
single conditional use has to be reviewed if there are changes. And that's re-reviewed as a conditional use, so they're coming right back to you then.
We're good on that one. Maybe I do a couple more. Self-storage landscape, some of you. Page 20. That's when we're gonna have any question, right?
Correct.
Landscape screening shall be installed as follows: 50-foot buffer from adjacent public right of way, 20-foot buffers from adjacent property lines. Are you saying, asking if that's enough, or? I don't know which one we're doing.
It's a good question. So, in our existing zoning, the number of 50 feet adjacent to public right of way is existing, and 20 feet adjacent to other property lines is existing. I suppose that question is, are you guys okay with that? 50 feet's a lot for an arterial highway road. 20 feet could be a lot for just property line to property line. You guys even care about this? It is a question.
I feel like it's a lot from the public right of way. Like we can build a house and accessory structure 70 feet.
Yep.
A commercial building, you can blow on property. So. And then this is also a landscape screening, so it's bushes and trees and. I think it doesn't, my opinion, doesn't. But. I'd rather have. Some high feet.
Is it to the building? So for.
To the right of way.
Okay, I will.
The other thing, probably running into it is. You build it, if you put it, you got a 30-year-old tree, 30 years from now. You tear that tree down because it's an, or. You have more next to it, and you have big wire on up. Somebody's gonna say they don't put a tree, right? Is that what you're thinking?
Visibility too.
Yeah.
I think that's too much, but. Arbitrary number 25.
Does it say how tall the screen was?
On this one, it was-
Like, 20 foot. To public right away, 20 foot buffer adjacent property. That will work. Look down.
I think the property line one is the easier one to solve for. Make it 5 foot and 10 foot, whatever, it doesn't make a big difference to me.
The thing I got there is it depends on what the property is next to you. It's got storage and I got storage and we both have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Put a shared fence and go all the way to it, I mean,
Got the trees in between.
yeah. Yes, that's a good point.
Like, do you need one on property lines? He's thinking about it.
I mean, I could care less if my neighbor planted a fast and police purpose on the property line, just benefits me in the long run.
I mean, I think this is just self-storage unit.
No.
Right,
So this is.
that's what I'm getting at, it's gonna be commercial.
It's commercial.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, eliminate the landscape. Does it require landscaping? You build thing,
You build a what?
if you build the self-storage.
I don't think.
Are you required to do landscaping as a buffer?
Currently,
Yes.
yes,
With this?
with these numbers exactly.
Thanks. So I would just eliminate the landscape screen.
It has to be
Unless-
fully enclosed by screening. Excuse me, by fencing or screen walls, that's. 10A8. So just 2 lines down. So it's already fenced in and has screen walls.
Yes, why is only one?
Take the phone.
Yeah.
Okay. So eliminate locals.
Agreed?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, you agree with that?
Yes.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah,
The only reason I would think different is if it butts up to a residential. Right?
Which it's already, it would be covered under different.
That's good on place.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I do. Then. I would require that in commercial. See, guys, that was an easy one. Down in holes. Yeah. I was like wireless communications. Oh, you guys might know them. You guys good for a while?
I'm good.
Yeah, let's knock some more out.
Alright, wireless communications,
You 5 minutes.
page, 25, 26.
Well, it does actually technically start at page 24, but the highlighted portion starts on 25. So again, this is stuff for brand new cell towers, or if someone's gonna co-locate, which means use an existing tower. This $50,000 performance bond, or you might consider it an assurance bond. This is currently existing. This is what's currently written in the code. Joe Vanden Act was gonna look at that number, try and compare it with a couple other things and get back to me, but he didn't show up to the meeting last week. 50,000, he was saying, seemed really small. 50,000 to me also seemed kind of big. Bob, you looked at a couple of these when we discussed it?
I think it's low.
It seems low.
Yeah, I think you're gonna have huge footings, you're gonna have, is it 200-foot tower, 100-foot tower?
Do you guys want me to go back to Joe and try and see if I can get some more info from him?
And I would say minimum.
I was thinking 100 minimum, but you could be right too.
Yeah, so then, page 26, flipping over, right at the top, that highlighted portion regarding stealth design. So it says shall, but someone can easily get past that by saying, it is, it just, it costs too much money or whatever. It'd ultimately be up to you guys to review and consider that argument. Stealth means pretty typically turning it into a fake tree or turning it into something that is camouflage. That's what stealth means. This code currently proposes that all new towers be neutral in color, so gray, sky blue, something that would more naturally blend in. But stealth means specifically goofy fake trees and other stuff like that.
I don't want that shit on the tower.
What's that?
I don't want that on the tower. You're saying it's supposed to look like trees?
Or something else. It's supposed to look anything other than.
Yeah.
Arizona and all.
It's a tower, you need to be a tower, right?
But we could have palm trees.
Yeah, we have all three here, and you can.
My goal would be to eliminate that. All town.
I mean, now if it's
You
a
drive through Vegas.
500 foot tower,
There's
you're really not gonna sky that
everywhere in
much.
that cell towers.
What Arizona has the cactuses.
Yeah,
Tower.
Every general tower.
I do it with IG stuff, I do that a lot. More, but smaller towers, that are shorter tower.
yeah, the shorter towers I can understand.
That's definitely gonna to just, 5G towers. And you're emitting signals. There's a lot of buildings now that got so much on it, we've gotta have RF detectors and before you crack the door of the roof. Even though they're supposed to have, hey, here's your painted lines where you gotta stay out of. They don't necessarily mean it. So, when you get further down the road and you start seeing more cell towers and stuff they're gonna need to do their impact studies. Housing effects around and stuff, not just a rubber stamp, yeah, you can hold one in.
Did you guys go with leaving eliminating the self-design? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so that next highlighted portion then, this is the existing abandonment provision. I just want you guys to know what this is. Going through an abandonment procedure is a significant, it's significant. We would probably be involving lawyers more than one likely. But I do want you to know that this language is gonna be in there. You don't necessarily have to comment or want changes, but I do want your guys' eye on this.
Yeah, it's something there, because if it does, go or nothing. The nice one. Nobody takes care of it, you gotta worry about the safety of it. Nobody's inspecting it.
how do these ordinances affect the covenants of do they go in place of the covenants or just we utilize covenants of the neighborhood?
So municipalities and other local governments are not involved by default with covenants. Covenants are considered a private agreement between private landowners. So someone comes to the city, they're getting the base minimum standards based off of code. We do not have a responsibility to make them go through covenant review. It's going to be HOAs and those who have the enforceability provision, the ability to enforce covenants that would be involved in that. We will not be involved in that.
Well, if the covenants are different than that's enforced by the HOA or whomever.
The city is absolutely not involved, correct?
Alright, let's do another one. Dog kennel, TA, page 28.
Is it, I want to go back to this, abandonment, is that strict enough? I mean, because you're gonna send them a letter and then. The way it's written, it seems like, they show what it's used, so.
Turn it on.
Yeah,
turn
they
it off.
key the mic one time there and use it and go for another 30 days or it would be I don't know how you do it, but I'm just saying that. Guy didn't want to take it down, he didn't want to drag it on for a long, long time.
Would you guys like me to pass that question on to both Joe and our city attorney? So that we have some better legal advice on that
I
one?
think so.
Yeah.
I want some clarification, because really, yeah. You do one thing with it and then start over again, and what happens?
If
I
you
do-
require a proof of revenue from it,
Yeah, would it be as simple as changing the wording to days to show evidence that the tower has been in use conditionally for X amount of time or?
Let's ask a lawyer that.
Okay, exactly, yeah.
Before, go ahead.
No, that's it. That's all I got.
Before we move on past the cell towers, I do want to make absolutely clear that as proposed, I'm trying to confirm this right now, the maximum height allowed for a tower is 200 feet. That is based off of our existing zoning, but I wanted you guys to be aware that that's limited. I'm trying to find the provision. The provision that discusses that. The one that we have over here is 200. Just easy to tell. Currently. In the zoning, it's written to allow cell towers basically anywhere as long as there's something like. I think it's, I can't remember if it's 75 feet or maybe 50. General feedback I got was we don't want cell towers popping all over town regardless of size. Let's make them a conditional use and let's limit them to a size. Just so you're clear, so that you're aware of that. And if you want me to confirm the provision that states that, I can. But if you want to attack dog kennels next, go for it.
Private or commercial dog kennels and facilities for raising, breeding, boarding of dogs, other small animals, handling 6 dogs. What else? That's such a facility is located on 100 feet from property line and 300 feet from any residential zone. And located on them 5 acres. I think the only issue that I would see is TA is. Some of them could go 1 acre, right?
Yeah.
So I don't think. But at the same time, I think your commercial breeding should have at least 5 acres, like. No, that. There's gotta be commercial breeding, right? Like, you can have 6 dogs in your house, there's also 3 dogs.
Right. It's specifically you're doing breeding operations.
Was there any questions on those two? I'm fine with the 6 dogs and 5 acres. You can see something different.
It's the 300 feet enough. Away from the residential zoning district.
Good question, but it's gotta be, have to be.
Because by the time you stick so many numbers on it, then it's gonna be, all right, you're gonna be 5 miles out, and what does it matter then, but.
You're gonna get a commercial space from.
Yeah, that's true.
Should be in a commercial area. Right, you can't put that in residential, right?
Correct.
You don't have 5 acres and B, it's this, that's right.
Yeah, so,
And these specific standards for kennels are only located within the transitional ag, so.
yeah, so.
Well, let's go in this past Fifth Street is traditional ag, right? So I bought that section and then I'm, what houses I had. Being right behind everybody's house.
You don't have to be care if you always say, well,
You need to put the kennel right. You need to backyard is basically 300 feet.
Yeah.
Which can have, the dog might not be. That's bad with. 11 hours or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
They're really going to be.
Yeah. The ones that sell for the most usually are the noisy ones.
what do you think?
Yeah, but. Keep mine right away, you could put something pretty close to the.
Thousand square feet.
Thousand feet, so you said,
Yeah,
I'd be fine with that.
And then maybe we can figure it out, at least get them further
Yeah.
away.
Okay, well, say that again.
I think we're just gonna change it from 300 feet to 1,000 feet, so that when you would.
From any residential zoning district within city limits.
Right, does that sound right? Well,
Yeah, just to
okay,
a little further away from people on Fifth Street's backyard.
okay. And that would be for both the permitted version of that and the conditional use version of that?
So,
I go there at $7 or more for various facilities. You probably change that to 1,000 feet too.
Correct.
yeah.
Oh, here, go one more, no, it's sitting on the ordinance, and get everybody through. It's 33 and 35, 5 foot rear yard setback for business.
Okay. You want me to explain this one?
Sure.
So currently we have basically no setback for a rear yard. I've adapted this so that if you're a business that has an alley in the back, you do need to actually have 5 feet of separation from that alley so that we can kind of stop having the trucks being parked out front. They would actually be able to do deliveries in the back, have that be more secure. That's the idea behind that. But right now, that would only be for now. So the question of 5 feet is, do you want to keep it at none? Unless they have an alley, or do you want to give them just a little bit more setback from their rear property line, regardless of whether or not they have an alley?
Don't make sense to have an alley.
Right, I don't.
So I love the space in it.
Yeah, really. Yeah, if all of a sudden you don't have an alley, there's nothing backing up, you'd rather build right in my property.
Otherwise, you're gonna have 5 foot nothing.
A waste of space.
Yeah.
Where do you sit your trash dumpster? In the alley?
If you have it. But like, I mean, for an example, like our building, we don't have an alley, right? And like on the backside, like that whole building is built on property corners. Going across the street. So that's kind of that's a unique spot. That's a good question. And I'll say you're right.
Well, my thought is like if you do at some point in time have a business district and there's commercial all the way down, let's say some stores or whatever, and you have a 24, 25 foot alley. And there's no place to put dumpsters or put anything in the back. You're building right to the property line.
Well, I think
To
that's
get-
what-
to
that's
get
what we talked
vehicles.
about. If there's an alley there, yes. But if there's no alley,
But if it's an alley, it's gonna be a travel way. So you can't really put stuff in a travel way. It's a public street. So like if anything that's sitting back there, like say a grease dumpster or a trash dumpster, can't sit in the alley.
That's where the 5 foot setback would come
that's
in.
where the 5 foot setback.
That's what, but you were talking about getting rid of it, right?
If there's no
If
alley.
there's no alley. there.
If there is no alley. Okay, I misunderstood you.
Yeah, if there's no alley, no setback. If there's an alley, a 5
Okay,
foot setback.
I heard it backwards.
All right. Maybe we should stop talking about home stuff.
It's exciting.
Yeah.
Everybody comfortable with that?
I'll sleep well tonight.
So say that one more time.
So if there's an alley. There's a
5 foot setback. Or it's not built right to property.
So we seem agreed.
Then, just,
I assume that was as long as the building sitting. On the property line of your neighbor.
as long as what?
So if you're able to build up to your property line
Yep.
at that point, so is the guy behind you.
Right.
And you still have to be so many feet away from any other buildings.
Not commercial.
Correct. Okay.
What, yeah.
I was thinking residential alleyway, never mind, yeah.
So we're trying to get off. Yeah.
Yeah.
Too much.
Okay, maybe we need to stop on this list right
We're
here.
stopping.
I read half of this thing just like the last 2 hours
Yeah.
before I came up here, so.
Speaking about alleys.
Just down here.
It's all those three.
New commercial though.
It could be, I mean, it could just be. a building of,
I've
you
been
know,
so lost for a while now.
we
I
are
zoned out a while ago.
Central business district.
I'm gonna have to go back and listen to audio.
After all the numbers.
All right.
Triple
We
figure.
are going to close the public hearing. At 8:12. For ordinance 816. Trust you guys want to approve the first reading? Try to
I'll make a motion that we approve the first reading of 815 and 816.
I'll second that.
A motion to approve the first reading of ordinance 816 zoning code revision was made by Smith and seconded by Mock.
Yeah.
Smith,
Yes.
Lawton,
Yes.
Sheminti.
You want to thank Robert for all the work he's done.
Yeah.
A long ways from the stuff we were getting, and that's cut listening from the public.
I agree.
Thank you for the feedback as well. Appreciate it.
All right. Action item. Approval of funds for new consent and days. But, wow, shot that. You guys will see that.
By Justin.
Put together bid sheet. County understand here. Most of them are local people other than. 2, 3 people.
We have an extra.
I guess the building's kind of more. 350, 400,000. Gathering 241,000. We budgeted 250 there,
There's, yeah, 150 out of Keno and then
see, I think it,
100 out of reserve funds.
50,
150 out of Keno and then 100 out of reserve funds.
and we're going to capital out with that last year, right?
Yeah, that was budgeted.
there's a little bit of contingency in there, you guys will see at the bottom.
I actually think there's probably more contingency in there than just the 10,000. When Jake and I was going over this, there's some of the stuff you can see is already padded, like $1,000, the toilet stuff and the doors and hardware. So there's a little contingency there. I think there's some stuff like the rock and cleanup of the area. I think that can be absorbed by city staff. So I think there's more than that. I think there's at least 15 to 20 contingency, which makes me feel a little better that we're close to 10%. One thing I would like to say is we will be purchasing all the materials, the city will, be paying all the invoices. And then the labor will be paid separately. So, that's with Marine's advice for doing something that has volunteer and has mixed, city crews working and how we're doing it. With this price of a cost of a project, we need to handle it that way. Because if you were just gonna be throwing this out for bids, I mean, anything over 30,000, if you were taking bids on it for like GC to bid on it and to do this. So we're GC in it as the city and paying for all the materials, and then we'll pay labor separate.
When is the expected start date?
Tomorrow.
Okay.
When I say when I say that, that's what unhooking the electricity from the existing building. We have a Connex box that we're having delivered down there to handle some of the stuff that's down there for storage. And I think demolition could start probably as early as this weekend, maybe. If we get approval. The thing we're waiting on is we're waiting on the survey and the site plan, and Robert needs that for the permit, needs the site plan and drainage plan, grading plan.
Make a motion to approve funds for the Hayes Ball Field concessions.
I'll second.
A motion to approve funds for the Hayes Ballfield concession stand was made by Schminty and seconded by Mock. Smith,
Yeah.
Lawton,
Yes.
Schminty.
Yes.
Mock.
Acceptance of the audit agreement. I think 2025, this is from Ormeyer, that's been helping us now. I have talked to Bob and Kyle both about next year switching it out and having somebody else audit it with them helping us. I just got another quote, but get this fired for this year. Like, what you looking for this?
I think it's important because I do like switch that up because you live on cities that.
Yeah.
You
Get fresh eyes in and new people, yeah.
And Bob and I have talked about maybe you're even switching, this year they're doing the accounting. And this company's doing got it, and then they switch, you're doing the accounting this year, you're doing got it this year.
I think theoretically, once Brandy's up to speed, I don't even know if we need, I think another year, I don't even think we need an accountant. We just need an audit once we get to that point. So I could foresee in a year, not even needing an accountant to come in and help with our books. We just say they're done and have it audited.
The shade you $7,000.
Yeah. And typically, in Kansas, when you do solicit for auditors, they do a 3-year contract, and it's by statute, and they can only raise their rate a certain percentage each year. So typically, you usually do 3 years and then you switch or rebid it anyway. So this will be the second year they're doing it. So I feel comfortable with them doing it, and we did talk about switching up next year. So, but they've been a big help.
You know what we mentioned, like,
I think I had 25 in there for that.
looks like it's at 19, will not exceed 19,000. Any more questions? Is there a motion to approve or deny the audit for the Ortmeyer Associates?
A motion to approve the audit agreement with Ortmeyer and Associates.
Second.
A motion to accept the audit agreement with Ortmeyer and Associates was made by Mock and seconded by Lawton.
Yes.
Sorry, Schminty. Mock.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Sorry, there was no space between that breath for you.
Alright, moving on. Discussion items. First thing that's in your packet is the white space, so it's still that bridge. Yes, and then. Bob work with Jeff Ray. Adjust the new light study that we had them look into. You have any questions? I asked them to do a look on Fifth Street, just to the west. South of Hillside, north of the water tower. Those are already plotted.
And another reason for keeping those in is the street. We can do the street there in front of it. With TIF funds, it's currently gravel.
So if Melvin or if you were to sell that and decided to. Develop that, it's already plotted for residential. So we have the opportunity to tip it, who tips it, or whoever tips it, if they tip it. All of a sudden you can use TIF funds to pay for Fifth Street. That's 12-inch water is already there, so that's good.
Is it 12-inch right in front of, on Fifth Street going north of the water tower?
Right?
I don't think so, is it, or is it?
Did that 2 years ago? 3 years?
Well, to feed the full run?
That was like 6 years. No, that's when they went north and then went over and fed up. They'll say,
So that's 12-inch all the way across now. Going back both north and south of the water tower.
you guys have any recommendations, changes? You guys like it, don't like it? We also included the south Timbercrest. Just for the fact that, you know, we were able to get half that section. The ball fields or someone to help us develop that. That could be an opportunity for expansion.
If I'm way out of line here, say so, but what about just south of the church on Second Street? Between the church and the highway? Or is that like,
So we can only do so much, right?
Yeah, there, we can do 50%
okay,
acres of town. And we started off with a bigger area. I don't know if you recall the last map, and it did include some of that down in there behind the church. And all we have to do, this is what we're allowed right here. We can move these areas around. And that's what we're looking for is feedback. You want to put areas in there that there's developables, things that are, you can develop, or things that are blighted or run down that need fixed back up. So you don't really want to include a neighborhood that's already in good shape.
So you go to Rose Avenue. And then you go north, there's 2 vacant lots between Rose and the railroad tracks. That's one continuous lot, is my understanding, by the same property owner. In that far corner piece, that's kind of the triangle right there. I believe that's landlocked.
It absolutely is.
So I don't know.
There is an easement back there, right, Robert?
There is an easement off of Rose Avenue that the city was not involved in, yes, but Hell's on the right track is landlocked, it doesn't have a city street connected to it.
Wasn't there an alley originally written? Or on that, it would be north of
off.
Rose Avenue?
Coming off Second Street back in there?
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking
I
about?
thought so, there was an alley a long time ago.
I've heard that rumor, but I've never found proof of it.
I seen it on the easel board that was here years ago. Drawn on it, and the concrete is cut out for it as such on Second Street.
Well, there used to be a home there, right?
No, not in all the years I lived in town. Ever,
Never been a house there?
nope,
That's
somebody bought the lot though.
That's
right
it.
next to Davis's,
I
right?
thought they were gonna
There
build
was a
one,
house there. Right next to Davis's to the south,
not,
that's where
no,
Jessica Flesh lived. Kids. That
Right.
little white house, that big
Was-
pine tree is.
Yeah.
100% there was a house there.
It was like a little 2-bedroom,
when was it?
That would have been,
2005, 2004.
yeah, 2000.
Next to Mike, south of Mike Davis.
It was a little slab under, it was like a little 2-bedroom, it was half the size of my house.
Really?
Yeah.
Who lived there?
No, it was just there, it was in some good. So, no, probably not.
There's. I just gave it a sporadic, but that's before.
There never houses that I never there.
They burned it.
And he would call.
Don't be that later.
Yeah.
I can't remember that.
And we can save some space by,
Yeah, that's my point is like, let's get rid of that piece just north of Rose. Cause I don't think there's anything that could ever be done with it.
That person just bought it though. Person that bought Jared's house. They bought it from, Bravery. Triangle,
Yeah,
yeah. The one that just bought right next door, in between Mike and Saco.
Yeah.
That person just bought it.
not the triangle piece though.
Yeah, they did.
Mhm.
Yeah,
It's all the
yes,
same.
they did, yeah.
landowner, I'm saying, this is not updated every day.
Again, I don't know how they get to it.
There was a house there.
And then what, one?
This is 2007,
Yep.
and in 2009 it was gone.
They went with, the house there just.
Right, they bought both, they found.
Yeah.
Favorite had listed that, well, it was
There was
one of the favorite girl, her last name was Flag or something like that.
In 2009 it
I
was
think
gone.
35,000, 50,000, and I think it was 1.5 acre or something, okay, you remember?
Well, the key there is if we take it out, where would you put it?
Where you want to add it?
Yeah.
And Kyle, you were right, there was a house there in 2007, then in 2009 it was gone.
No.
I found it on Google Maps, so.
You could look by year, Kate.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get him. Look that up.
Is there any way we could use some of that land from there and go over towards ICANN with it?
So that was already where the pickleball court is. And that whole area was already, yep.
Yeah.
And my understanding, which Bob talked to the lawyer,
Yeah, once you have collective funds on it, you can still spend it in that area.
so still spend tip funds, like,
In that area, because that was that before.
so I talked about continuing that trail going the north. Tip funds, so.
And my original thought was if ICANN needed any sort of construction, like a new concession stand or something like that, we could use TIP funds towards that. But it's a moot point then.
They kind of encapsulate, going north on Second Street where that industrial area is. We were able to find some extra money, you can do the water line. Go there, you can do the street going there, you do.
Yeah. No, I'm fine with it, just based on. The understanding if we've already collected on it, we can use it there.
Matt, can I comment real quick? You mentioned the plotted squares just to the west of Fifth Street as being zoned residential.
Yeah.
They're not.
Not zone residential, but they're plotted, right?
Gotcha. Bingo.
Sorry.
Perfect. They're currently zoned as TA.
Okay.
Okay.
You need an approval on that, Bob? Or-
No, I just was looking, it was a discussion item, just wanted to let you know that it changed from what the original map I show had presented, and if you had any comments about this map, basically.
So once you tip an area, then it's done at that point?
Well, no, the kind of the idea of TIF is generally for a bigger city to go in and fix inner cities, and you can only do a certain percentage. So once someone went in there and fixed that, you don't want to hamstring the city by saying, well, you can't go fix this area up here. So you unblight this area. All your TIF money stays the way it was set up for the contract of the TIF. You still collect your taxes on it, but you can move over here and start doing another project. They call it unblighting an area.
Anything else? Okay, let's look at the McGuire Iron. Water tower,
He was unable to attend, so Matt and I both sat in and talked with him. Do you want to talk about it, Matt? You want me to? Go for it. Basically, the water tower, I wouldn't say it snuck up on us, but it kind of did with the painting. The last time it was painted was 14, and they really need painted about every probably 10 to 15 years, just depending on what your circumstances are. We met with him and basically figured out that we have enough money budgeted this year that we could power wash the exterior. And that would buy us a couple years before we needed to repaint. They have a program that's set up to basically finance your paint, your inspections, all your ROV, clean out everything. And ours would typically run around $21,372, which you see out there like 2032. But whereas we need the tower painted, they're not gonna let us pay that off in arrears. We need to pay for that up front. So that's why it would jump to 67,000 for 4 years, and then we would be on a scheduled payment of probably a little over 20,000. That would be determined once we did a contract with them. But what it does, and it's good and bad, I see a lot of good in it. It would put McGuire Iron as like the stewards of that water tower. And anything that's under normal circumstances that happens with the maintenance, that they take care of it. They paint it, they keep your water tower up. For a little town like us, coming up with a couple $100,000 to repaint it, it was, I think it was close to 150 the last time we did it in 14. So it's going to be around 200 or so to paint it if we just had to come up with the cash to paint it in about 3 years. So this is kind of a way to catch up in finance, and then you would put it, it's kind of like a maintenance program, like on a piece of equipment or something that you would think about like that they just come in and take care of it for you. And the advantage of that is as we come and go as employees, as council, as there's someone that has a record of the water tower, knows where it's at, and you don't have people come in and be like, oh, we need to paint this tower here within the next 2 years, or it's going to be a full-blown descale paint. And the downside of that is you could get someone that come in after you, and we contributed $80,000 or $100,000 to it, and they decide they don't do it anymore.
But we could say, yes, let's do this, right? Year number 2029. Different council, they say, and we don't want to spend 67,000. Not even just lost 140,000. So. Kind of a double-edged sword, but really think that that's a pretty important thing. I don't think if it's already set up, I don't think the next council will. You need that? Right.
So when you get to past 2032, then it's gonna be $20,000 a year after that point?
Roughly that, yeah. And then in 10 to 15 years, whenever it needs painted again, they would probably come in and power wash it, fix it in the life, and then paint it again within there. It's like a service contract, basically.
The painting would fall within that normalized 1,000.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't be.
And all your inspections, everything that would go with maintaining.
So after the initial catch-up period, we're basically paying 21 grand a year.
And that would be,
Water tower maintenance from here on out.
and that would be very easy to put on a water bill. You know, this is your water tower maintenance.
They would take care of your maintenance, your inspections, everything that I need to have through the state also.
And I'm not looking for any approval tonight. I think he can come next month.
If you guys have questions, I mean. You can probably send us a slideshow that we kind of talked through, but it's pretty. It's basically what this is, right? Like I said, what he does, we budgeted 20,000 this year, so it would be good. We can be down around 1,500 there. But.
And that buys us some time to figure out how to come up with the rest of the money to do it, whether we did it in one lump sum contract, to repaint the tower, and we come up with money from a loan or however we did it, or doing it this way. But it'll buy us a couple years if we power wash it.
From a contract standpoint, Bob, what would our term be if we were to enter the program? Would we be under contract for, what is that? 7 years?
I think they're going. This initial one, I think that's what he's looking at, but I think after that, I think it's a 10-year.
And if we're gonna paid out all this money on an annual basis, basically to get caught up. Have we made sure like they're a good company, like, yeah.
Higher budget, but
Yeah, you know what I mean, like they're not having money issues or anything like that, they float shop or.
I can't say that about anybody, but,
Right,
but you know, they're a very,
like,
they're
I'm
a
just saying,
very,
like a little bit of due diligence. on
they're a
the-
very reputable company, and they do probably the majority in the state of Nebraska and even out of state. And did you get the email with, they had all their stuff in there with their references and everything. They're very well known. They do at the conferences you go to, they're the ones that put on the water power things there, so. But they've been doing it for how long, Luke? Quite a while.
I don't. It's a long time, they're based out of South Dakota. Okay. They're also the ones who had Finfolk come in and dive clean our tower last year, 2 years ago. 23 million.
So we don't have to have a decision, think about it, though, that was next month, let's make a decision, put that for it. I don't think this is bad at all. Back in age cheaper than it is to make, you know,
Yeah. But our sales reps out of Elkhorn, I think is where he lives, and he's more than willing to come out. Okay, so.
And if you look at that, they would actually paint that in 2028. And we would have 3 years of paying in arrears for them actually painting it, so we would have 3 years of pay off part of that paint job.
That sounds like a good deal.
And there's one other company out of Omaha called Viking. I used them for an inspection our first year. They're at conferences too. They're a newer company, but I was, like they left our hatch open on the top. Back when they had all for me. So little things like that.
Great. Moving on to park bench placement. Brett has submitted,
Barney and I a couple weeks ago walked the parks and kind of looked around at things, and biggest stretch was between Hayes and park there. At the walk. Wow, and 10 pad, we kind of shot up. Like, that's great, but that's quite a bit, so not that we were scrounging, but. And I did throw 3 around the playground, which, you know, this is just what I came up with, me and Barney, so.
Red X's are where the benches is.
Yeah, proposed park benches, you know, along all the walking
Yeah,
trails.
I did.
Yep,
and I agree, 10 seems like a lot. Better way to look at it.
then maybe take 1 or 2 away from the playground and move it up over here in the I-10 somewhere, I don't know.
And I was gonna keep taking ones on the sides, like the east and west side from the playground. And if you can make that one on the south side of the playground, like a double,
Yeah,
because a lot of people, the kids, play the playground, the roller kids at the basketball court, so I said.
yeah. And that's, what I was thinking, but between the basketball court and the volleyball court, another one there. Or even move that to the center and have a double side there too, either way.
I think Cody's planning on coming in here in November to do those,
Okay.
and just need to get our heads together and go put out some locations sometime here in the next couple weeks. Go put some flags out or paint them or whatever. If you guys just want to get a hold of me and
One small side note, talking about parks or the new pavilion. I don't remember, do we account for getting power back over there again? Like we had on the old one?
you want me to go ahead and dive into that? The company that put that up, Astro Buildings, they called and offered to put a ceiling in there.
Which I saw that, which is great.
And so we have already met with one electrician and another electrician's going to give us another bid to put all electricity and lights and have a place where maybe we could even put some fans in there, ceiling fans. So
I get. Yeah,
so it's gonna be a pretty good deal, I think. And
cool.
the walls will be really easy if you ever want to enclose it somehow with walls. It will be really easy to do after that.
Go back to this and back. Go all under.
Yeah. Yeah, cause I knew it was already there on that northeast side, but yeah.
And Matt and I anticipate that won't even need a council approval because it's gonna be underneath his buying limit or spending limit.
Cool.
It's right under that. Man, I assume you guys all look one, like so much.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna say those, it used to be closed on it for the band, it's that, I mean,
Yeah.
it's that.
And we're gonna
The
do,
lighting, so, sure, is that,
I mean,
it
just,
didn't have lighting before, did it?
It did.
Or did?
So you can make some-
just to
If
talk.
it did, I think it's minimal, anyway, yeah,
12 of them in there.
yeah,
And doing half of them on a sensor. Like a just tilt on sensor. And then you go over to the circuit breaker, turn or something on, if you have something going on. Instead, I was spending the money to, since the weekend is already back kind of downtown. You know, we spent a couple $1,000 to put circuit breakers downtown. I talked about, when we went down there, not running the 15 breakers yet. The pipe's already there, so if something were to come,
we have the availability.
we have to be able to.
Yeah.
So if we say, hey, we're gonna issue 10 days here, that's paying for the power, we're paying for the wire and things like that. So that was kind of where I thought.
Yeah, with the LED lightings, I mean, anything out of
Yeah.
them.
One of these X's for the park benches along the walking path. Then down to Hayes. Might need to go on the outside of the walking path to the east side of it, just because we have the soccer fields there.
Probably all three of those, right?
Yeah.
So we'll just-
Do the
just keep
soccer
that
fields go
on.
all the way to the sidewalk?
There.
They'll probably make.
Oh, We'll just, we'll just videotape
Yeah.
them as they run into
Yeah.
the benches.
Roughly this. That makes sense, I guess, as long as we don't get into any. Setbacks or anything that, no.
In the park.
We own everything there.
Picnic table.
Yeah.
That's all.
In the park itself, isn't there a picnic table or something in there?
There's,
The pavilion is right next to the
Pavilion.
sand, or
No,
the
in
basketball.
the park.
On the.
on the north side.
The playground, it's a little triangle of grass.
Yeah, so there's,
Table center.
I just been riding my bike and every Friday when I go by, there's some family down there, and I thought there was a picnic table or something.
I like Matt's idea though, take both the east and west one, maybe. Double up somewhere or something, maybe double up between the. Volleyball field. and Basketball or vice versa south, I don't know.
I think if you take those two out, you make that. That one double on the south side of the park. And the one between the basketball. And volleyball.
You could do 2 and 2.
Yeah.
Because you already have 2 picnic tables on that north side, so you're kind of over, I mean,
And you have 2 picnic tables on like pavilion.
right, so like,
Yeah.
exactly.
And then you have the one there coming right off of Cedar. Right?
Yeah, I like that
I
one,
like that one.
That's a good one.
kind of get right into the park, or have a seat for that. Well, not me, but talking to residents.
I was like, you went like 5 steps.
Oh, yeah, for me, yeah,
I mean,
And
walking down my hill is exhausting, you know.
what we've got at ITM. You have 2 on the north side, is there enough room there?
In between the basketball and the pickleball.
Yeah, that's that rock area.
Yeah. 8 foot, 10
Oh,
foot,
there's-
yeah.
Then one other thing would be the one by the north side of ITM. I think it'd be nice to talk to Pat Peterson. Cause he donated the flag poles that. Wall that's up there. And all that. This is a new number preference, so
Sure, yeah.
he might wanna go sit up there.
Yeah,
watch some baseball.
for sure, yeah.
We put a plaque up there for his dad.
Oh, cool.
Kind of different. Other than that, I'm good with them.
Thanks, Brad. Moving on. Supervising reports.
And then any questions for anybody? They wanna go over anything?
I have something to add.
Okay.
Kinetic is doing a fiber project in the city of Utan. We just found out this week. It was kind of just sprung on me by, hey, here's some plans. Can you guys approve these? And since then, I've got 4 more sets of plans. So they're essentially wanting to run fiber throughout the entire city. I've got a hold of JEO to help with the plans because it's going to be entangled with a lot of our infrastructure. And as of right now, we do not have an exact permitting process for utilities in the right of way. We're going to have some expense with JEO reviewing these plans to make sure that they do not conflict with what we have now. Matt has talked to, I think, who did you say you talked to, Matt, that just had this done?
Waterwood Valley.
Yeah, and they're
Sorry.
they're getting some free service out of it, but that seems a little cheap to me, to let them off. I mean, we need to recoup our JEO costs, and no, then they really never even asked us if we wanted it. You know, if the city wanted it, if it's good, it's going to be a big deal. There's already 3 miles worth of cable that they're proposing to put in town.
I was told myself as a customer, that they were gonna do it in March. They're like behind.
They don't have anything approved yet.
Yeah, I know, they said that this is lip service.
So I was
But-
gonna talk about it. My opinion was, we deny them right this second. Cause they're, you know, they're actively putting up a that's right. We deny them and say, hey, come out, give us a full presentation to council, even if we gotta go start from tonight. We're gonna get our, well, we gotta hit the JEO and say, here, this is what we have to have. Then, maybe plus, you know, all the city buildings. Anywhere we need fiber, anywhere we have pots, anywhere we have Wi-Fi. This is where we do stuff for them. I'm also the same point, like, I want it set as a nice fee for the customers, right? And like, right now they're paying $90-$100 a month for not fiber. The fiber is gonna be $200 a month. The patrons aren't gonna like it, right? Our constituents aren't gonna like
When
it.
someone put in fiber a few years back on some of the main brands,
So Windstream has some fiber in town.
Which is the same as Kinetic, that's the same.
Windstream,
Yeah.
Okay. Kinetic by Windstream.
So yeah, it's on this side of town is all they have, right?
Well, it's in weird spots, like we have.
Well, for fiber.
Yeah, we have it at our apartments right over here, but they won't give it to us right here. We have it at our new building, but they won't make sure it's.
Yeah,
Fire station.
I had them the last 7 years and dropped them because I was tired of the BS.
Oh, after Rise, I agree. It was ridiculous.
So I think it's one of those things.
$40.
I think the rates are going down. I think.
Rise.
I was told it's gonna go to $29 a month
What is,
with the new Kinetic.
should,
That's what, my friend Chad, before he died, got it in Wahoo. 400,000 megabytes a second or something like that for $29 a month. It was special.
You just have to call and complain every time it goes up.
Yeah, I got mine on.
And I'll give it to you again.
That's my point of it.
Doesn't matter.
Rather it be someone besides Kinetic, just so that we get some.
I think there
Doesn't
is
sound-
anybody else
No,
down
no.
here though.
Right,
There is no.
Rise broadband on Bartow, but
Rise. Yeah, Rise is only 40,
yeah,
so
I
it's
heard.
not right, that's not.
correct,
No, I'm
right.
paying for fiber.
I know.
There's a lot.
No, absolutely, like Cox come
Yeah.
out here, like,
What's that?
Owl.
Yeah,
will Cox come out here?
No,
No,
It's another
They
thing,
don't.
Medic knows that
Crossing.
they're basically, they
But-
can do whatever they want.
Great Plains, out of where is at. B right now, which they use Spectrum. That's who bought it through Great Plains, whatever. So that's the phone call of right for penny. What's it take you to use it, right? So there's definitely some conversations. to be had.
So along the highway, that's Kinetic that's been out there.
From me,
I'm just,
I would assume so.
so that's Dow or something.
I would assume so.
The trucks have been kinetic.
Okay.
Yeah, we're passing the price of it.
Monopoly or.
I agree with you, Matt, like, no, come out, talk to us. With, yeah, what are you looking to do?
Then again, everybody wants, right, like, I just wanna make sure it's the right decision for us. But B is the right decision for our people.
Yeah.
Guarantee us you're gonna charge everybody in town for $50 a month for the first 3 years, right?
Hmm.
Something crazy like that.
Would we be able to break our Rise contract with the tower and get stuff off there? Like, would we replace that?
No, I think we still leave it there. I mean, all it is another competitor.
Oh, okay.
Cause, you know, 5 would be $200 or $125 a month, where Rise is $40 a month. They still want some competition.
Yeah.
I mean. But, I mean, we could. Do we need to take some off there? Always.
Or say Rise is paying us to have their stuff up there, so
Rise-
that's an income.
The main thing, I think we just need to get it out there to, the citizens that this is a major project and they're gonna be in about everybody's yard at some.
I would,
So it'd be replacing the existing wire that it went above ground, right? They taking out the full wire, and putting in the
Well,
new.
see, that was my question, like, if you're putting fiber underground, because they're talking about boring under all the streets, boring.
Yeah, I mean, where it's underground, that's,
Then.
They'll be the last
Build
ones.
stuff off, right? Or do we
They
talk
never,
about-
no,
They won't.
They won't.
no, they never do.
But they got, right now, they're paying OPPD lease, every tower, for every pole they're on, they lease it. So, that's just the conversation I had, right?
Yeah, 'cause I mean, other than parts of Old Town over here, everything else is underground, so you're.
What you run into, this was all the time down at Topeka, is you hit a line and you have no idea if it's alive or dead. Because they leave everything in the ground.
Yep.
I guess anything would ever be held hostage by LTNT and Connecticut for my entire life. Anything we can do is guarantee there will be some construction, competition in the future will be. I mean, if we can have an ordinance that says that they have to leave 10% spare space for someone else to do that, would be before that, just because once they get in and they're the only one in town. How many years was it Omaha could call here for free and it was long distance to Omaha? They hit those sausage like that for years, so it was ridiculous.
I just want to make you guys aware of that and I'll be sending some emails back and forth with them and try to get them out here to do kind of a town hall meeting to let us know what their plans are.
Anything else?
we'll be shutting down most of the concession stand and stuff this week, water wise, rising, so splash pad. It's not down yet, but probably will be by the end of the
Hey, usually when it's 40 degrees out?
can, cold plunge.
1%.
Alright. That's our sign, guys, we've been here in Lockwood.
That you?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Motion to adjourn at 8:52 was made by Lawton and seconded by Mock. Sheminti.
Yeah.
Mock,
Yes.
Smith,
Yeah.
Lawton.
Yes.
Thanks, everybody, sorry, we got a lot done.
Yeah.